Hey, it's Mark Lowe with Kentucky Tennessee Research, and we're doing live 3 myths about research plans. Now, I do research plans all the time, and I've been researching for over 50 years. But understanding how to handle a plan, how to think through it. So I want to break down some myths and share some points that will, I think, help you and me do our research in a more effective way, find answers that actually help us solve problems so that we can actually accelerate our research opportunities. Now, I think the reason that we do plans and we need them are much like something like this. Okay? And unfortunately, it's something that's a part of many of our lives as we age and as we continue to do processes. We need to know what to do each day or every time at a certain point in time. That effective planning. And of course, we know that in order to take pills at the right time of day, we may have to have multiples of these. That's what these are for, is the point of helping us understand what we need to do. So let's look at that process of 3 myths about research plan. And a plan is essential. I want you to be sure that in the process of doing this that you realize how important it is to have a plan, even if it's a small or short. So let's tackle this process. A plan, a research plan, always includes the identification of the problem. In other words, what is the question? What are we trying to resolve? It has the refinement of possible solutions. And then it is the collection and analysis of evidence. That is what's required in the whole process of research. But a plan is much more important because it's essential that we stop and think about it. What do we want to know? What are the details about the information that we're trying to collect? And how are we going to collect and analyze the evidence? So it's essential that those thought processes of what a plan occurs are important. But research plans, myth number 1, do not need to be long. In fact, a research plan can be very short, as a sentence or two of information. The aspect of what a research plan contains might be more important as we think through the process. And since I do this regularly, I hope that I've learned the process of what I think a research plan needs in order for me to be able to resolve the question and answer it, if possible, and move on in the steps of research, which is certainly in the part of the process. So, what does a research plan have to contain, whether it's short or long? It should contain in the process the location where we're researching, because that's essentially important if we're looking for records to know where they would have been entered or collected. The time frame. If we're answering a question on a particular point in time, then we need to know that time frame. For example, if we're looking for a marriage, it's helpful to know that the marriage occurred within this year, or within this 6 months, or within this decade, and definitely within those locations. It's important that we know what resources are available as we're planning, because that will help us be better in our planning if we're thinking about those resources that are available in the location so that we can find those answers. Then specific questions. What is it that I want to know? And I honestly believe that a plan should be about what is the question that we have to answer. And then it may include, as we expand our plan and research, it may include other people in the neighborhood, associates or neighbors, family, friends, relatives, those folks that we're going to examine as we look through those. Now, it's also important as we're developing that plan, a simple plan, and when I say it does not have to be long, for years I've been doing plans on index cards. And index cards can be as simple as just a 3x5 card, and I keep them everywhere. I've always had, I'm kind of the index card person. I like them everywhere, and I keep multiple sizes and colors. But right beside of me here, I have a small deck of 3x5 cards. And I have 5x7 cards. And I have color index cards. I have index cards behind me right here. So as I'm thinking through the day, I have the ability to, hey, I want to find that answer. And this is the question. And so having the process of having that available, it's a simple always for me to have just a simple process of what it is I want to know. I write it across the top of the card, or I can print them. There's a printer right here. And then where am I going to find that? And so in the case of a marriage from 1854 in Robertson County, Tennessee, I might be able to locate that in Edith Whitley's Robertson County, Tennessee marriages from 1839 to 1861. And there's the call number. So whether I go to the library here in town, the Tennessee State Library and Archives, or if I'm at the Family History Library in Salt Lake City with that call number, I should be able to look up that book. Or in any library that might have a copy of Robertson County, Tennessee records. Okay? Now, since I mentioned Family History Library or FamilySearch.org, that marriage time period has also been microfilmed and are available digitally in the marriage books 1 through 4 from 1839 to 1878, if that's the right time of the marriage, 1854, and there's the film number, 425-212. So I can actually go to FamilySearch.org. I can actually do a film fish search, and I can actually type 425-212 and actually go look then for William Adams and Mary Batts in 1854. Now, it's a beautiful day here. It's cold here in Tennessee, but I only live 4 blocks from the Robertson County Archives. So I could certainly access the records, but it's a great day outside. I could just take this information and drive 4 blocks to the archives and actually look this marriage up in the original records that are located there. The choice is mine. So again, the plan is the process of taking that card and ready to roll. So once I have the index cards, you'll notice if you did notice or didn't notice, most of the times I have that hole punched in the top corner, and sometimes I actually stack them, and I'll show you that in another video later, where I actually put them on the repository, so that when I get ready to go to a repository, I just pull the cards off, and I'm headed to that location. So in this case, I could take that card, and I can look at that marriage. Now, one of the things is, you'll notice I don't have a specific date, and often we have some general information. Hopefully there's an index available, and that may be the case of using that book, for example, to look at an index to determine if that's the correct time period for the marriage, etc. So again, sometimes we have to resolve the information in our plan before we're ready to move to the next process. So with that in mind, point number 2, research plans can be flexible. We often think that once we write a plan that it's stone. It must be followed completely. And there's a time in the past that I would recommend to folks that be sure that you complete your plan all the way to its ending. But now I understand that sometimes a plan needs to be flexible. For example, I might determine that the county that I anticipated this marriage occurring, it was in the wrong place. So my flexibility would say I don't need to look here. I might need to expand into a book. For example, the Sislers published a book of Middle Tennessee marriages. So I could check that book and say, oh, it's not in Robertson County, it's in Sumner County. And I would adjust my plan to go look for the same record in a different location. So research plans, I think, not only can be flexible, probably must be flexible. And often the whole myth of how a plan is in place and has to be hard and solid needs to change. We really need to think a little differently in the process in regard to that. And once we do that, the flexibility of our research plans make them more useful to you and me. Well, I do believe that a research plan should advance us in our research. And I do think that almost all research plans, whether short or long, whether for a single process or multiple, should contain these following pieces of information. A plan should contain a clear directional question, one that moves you towards solving that question. So if a question is unclear, or if we're not sure what we're trying to answer, that makes it tough for us as a researcher to know where we're going to find that answer. Okay? So we need to work on that part of the plan. It should also identify what resources are reliable that are most likely to answer the question that we've posed in this circumstance. That doesn't make sense. It has to. They have to fit together. The plan also might identify some additional resources that will support or provide related information. And we'll talk about that more when we get into longer plans. But today we're talking about the myths of a research plan. And I also think that a plan should have a reasonable timeline for completion. And that's just to help me realize how much time it takes to pull the record, what's available, and then to get that done. Okay? So we're on track. We've got a short plan, we've got a flexible plan, and what is the next myth? Well, research plans, by their very nature, do require time to mull and ponder. And if you don't know what mull and ponder is just the time period where we stop, where we actually give ourselves some time to think and relax and realize, am I asking the right question? Am I looking in the right location? And how will the answer to this question help me in the overall process of my research? I actually think that my mull and ponder time, or my analysis and thinking time, is probably part of the best part of the research ability that I bring to the table. I may be good about locations and finding records, but I need to think about how they work together, how these families that I'm researching fit together, so that as I'm looking or having problem finding a record, where are the alternative sources? And that's part of that mull and ponder time. I think if we begin to just think about the process, we're going to figure out how to find the information, how we're going to know to resolve the problem, and determine that we're going to find the family, or at least the question, to help us answer and find the family the next time. So let's remember those myths. Research plans do require mull and ponder. Let's think about how an advancing plan can help us in our research. Let's remember also that research plans can and must be flexible, not just rigid. Find a way to make them fit the needs as you find new information. Think about it. It can be as simple as an index card, 3x5, 4x6, 5x8. Whatever size piece of information, it can be electronic. Find something that works for you. And remember that a plan will contain this type of information, and as we're thinking about solving our problems, keep that consideration in mind. Remember, research plans do not need to be long. In fact, probably the most important process in regard to this is that you have a research plan. I don't think that we find an answer. Sometimes things just happen and we find a random answer of situation. I actually believe my best research comes when I've thought about what it is I need to resolve this, and then formulate a plan that fits the location, the time period, the resources available, and the family as I understand them. With that in mind, we don't have to think about a long research plan. We just have to think about the process of having a research plan. So with that in mind, I hope you'll consider the fact that these research plans will help us finding the problem, refining the solution, and to begin to collect the evidence. So don't let these 3 myths about a research plan keep you from doing your research. In fact, why are you watching this today? It's a great time to go find something, or at least go online and find some new information. Now, I hope that you will like this. I hope that you will follow us and let us know. Ask questions. Let me know what things that you think you would like us to help you with in your research plan. We at Kentucky Tennessee Research Associates are looking forward to sharing the information that we have gained in years of research with you guys every day. So thanks for taking your time to listen to us today, and we'll see you next time.